The Hollow Tithe slides into dock at Glasswake Station, and Myrkessa Blackcurrent is just another face in the crew, a glow-marked necrith, Syndicate runner, with a quiet habit of skimming whatever does not get counted on the way out. The case was one of those skimmed pieces, lifted during the last pickup, small enough to pocket, interesting enough to keep. She cracked it somewhere between the last jump and Glasswake, expecting resale parts or forgotten contraband. What she found was an old memory chip buried under customs seals, alongside a stack of Karatech dynamo manifests and a dead courier's voice that had been waiting a long time to talk to someone. Vrykul Prime, Lower Rec Field, Hold 7. The attached files are wrong in ways Myrkessa understands immediately. Ghost IDs, false registration chains, a legitimate shipment diverted off the books and buried under fake paperwork. Somebody moved product through channels nobody was supposed to find, and now the only person alive with the coordinates is her. She burns them into her exosuit memory, wipes the chip, wipes her scanner logs, recycles the case, and when Captain Marek's voice cuts through ship comms, everyone on the floor unload fast, she heads down and does exactly that. When she is clear of direct eye lines, she trips a coolant fault, gasps, line breach, loud enough to be heard, and peels off toward the med corridor before anyone argues. She cuts through med, drops down a maintenance stair, slips out with a wave of dock workers, and does not slow down until Glasswake Station noise swallows the Hollow Tithe behind her. Only then does she pull the station transit feed through her HUD implant, find a no-questions hauler with a berth open, and pay in untraceable creds before he has time to care. The pilot eyes the destination, says Vrykul Prime, the way someone says the name of a place they would rather not go, and asks if she is certain. She tells him to lift. Marek wraps the sail and goes looking for Myrkessa. A crewman mentions a suit leak in the med bay. She is not there, and she is not anywhere else on the ship either. He has the Hollow Tithe's AI confirm she is gone, then cracks the station's security archive, and there she is heading for the shuttle bays. Traffic logs fill in the rest. The crew understands she took something and ran. What exactly, they can only guess. Marek pushes a Syndicate-flagged alert across the network with her description, the shuttle's hull signature, and her last known vector, then starts moving. Myrkessa hits orbit above Vrykul Prime, rust storms and smog-choked forge fields spreading out below, and hopes whatever trail she left behind reads like noise. She drops into the orange haze, believing she has the time she needs, unaware that somewhere above her, a Syndicate relay satellite has already logged the shuttle's transponder and pushed the ping back to Marek. Myrkessa steps off the shuttle onto a Vrykul Prime landing pad, rust grit blowing across the tarmac, cranes screaming overhead, and enough smog in the air to make every light look dirty. She activates the respirator mask on her exosuit and heads inside the port. There she spots a vendor selling respirator masks and asks about finding transport. The vendor eyes her, turns away, and says nothing. When she holds out a credit stick, he gives her directions to a place that might have what she needs. As she makes her way back out, she hears a voice behind her. She turns and sees a Rustborn in an orange jumpsuit, a lean dockside crawler with oil on his gloves. He tells her he knows a cheaper Gravbite dealer, better quality too. Myrkessa studies him for a moment, gives a short nod, takes the information, and walks on. Behind her, two port drifters in worker leathers watch her pass, lift a pocket scanner, and match her face and suit outline to the Syndicate-flagged alert Marek, pushed out from Glasswake. A message reaches Marek aboard the Hollow Tithe. The question is simple, dead or breathing, and what is he paying? Alive, he says. He names a number high enough to make it interesting, then asks where the pickup will be. The answer comes back, Vrykul. He looks at the pilot and says, hold course. The two drifters follow her through the scrapyard, while Myrkessa threads between salvage towers, torch crews, and stacked engine carcasses on her way to the bike dealer. Then the feeling of being followed hits. She stops, turns, and catches two figures stopping too late, pretending interest in a nearby stall. She keeps moving. At the next turn, she slips into a narrow alley between corrugated scrap walls, finds cover, and waits. The two turn in and pick up their pace. Myrkessa steps out. The first lunges with a stun baton, and she drives a hidden blade through his ribs before he can swing. The second pulls a sidearm, but she takes him by the collar with exosuit strength and puts him into the wall hard enough to break his neck. She searches them fast. Cred sticks. Cheap comms. She pulls up the messages on the device and finds Marek's offer and her price. He knows where she is, and he is coming. She reaches the dealer the Rustborn named. The dealer starts his pitch while she works through the battered grav bikes with a scanner, finds one worth the argument, and names a price. They settle. She also buys a local surface map, syncs it against the coordinates in her exosuit memory, and finally pins the wreck field. She kicks the gravbite to life and heads out of the scrapyard into the open rust flats toward the lower wreck field. Back at the dealer's stall, the rustborn from earlier steps up. Tracker active? The dealer checks his pad, sees the signal moving out across the wasteland, and nods. The rustborn sends a message, and somewhere a figure reads it once, smiles, and lets his tail settle. The Hollow Tithe sets down hard on a Vrykul Prime landing pad, and Marek is off the ramp before the dust settles, crew filing out behind him. He tries the two drifters first. No reply. He tries again. Still nothing. He doesn't say anything about it, but the crew reads his expression of annoyance and wait for his orders. Somewhere across the port, the rustborn from earlier sends a short message. New arrivals. Same ship as the alert. 6 of them. Marek spreads the crew out through the port with one instruction. Find out if anyone saw her and where she went. He stays near the ship and waits. His comm chimes once. Unknown sender, no tag, no origin trace, Syndicate encryption. He opens it and finds a detailed map of Vrykul Prime's lower rust flats with a single route marked toward the wreck field. He checks the sender twice. Nothing. Whoever sent it knows Syndicate channels and isn't asking for anything yet. He pockets the information and lets it sit. The crew filters back. She was here. Asked around the port, bought a grav bike from a dealer on the far end of the strip, headed out into the flats. She has not returned, and nobody saw her leave the planet. Marek tells them to pull the bikes from the ship's cargo hold and get their masks on. He has a location. They roll out into the rust flats in a loose column, following the route from the anonymous map. Myrkessa cuts the grab bike's throttle before she crests the last ridge and walks it the rest of the way up on foot. Below, the lower wreck field spreads out across a shallow basin. Gutted hulls, half swallowed by rust drifts, salvage cranes frozen mid-reach, torch crews moving between the wrecks in small groups. Rustborn work crews, nothing organized, pulling apart whatever the flats give up. She scans the field until she finds the ship. Hold 7. Lower wreck field, still intact. No crew visible on or around it, sitting quiet between 2 stripped-out haulers like it hasn't been touched. She stashes the grav bike behind a collapsed crane housing and works her way down into the field, moving slow and wide around the torch crews, using the wrecks for cover. She reaches the ship, checks the perimeter once, and slips inside. Her scanner sweeps the interior, no heat signatures, no movement. Whatever is in Hold 7, she hopes it's still there. In the shadows further along the basin ridge, 2 figures watch the ship's entrance. One lifts a comm. She's here. The interior of the ship is partially stripped. Wall panels pulled in sections, conduit harvested where it was worth taking. The Rustborn had been through here and would likely be back. She moves deeper into the ship, past a bulkhead with the name still stenciled in faded paint, the Ardent claim, and hopes whatever they came for, they had not made it to Hold 7 yet. Hold 7 is at the end of the undisturbed section, still sealed. She cracks it open and stops. Something is wrong. The crates are stacked like someone packed them yesterday. The Rustborn work the entire basin, but this part of the ship was untouched, or so it appeared. Her greed slipped as the suspicion hit her. And, as if on cue, her scanner chirps before she finishes the thought. Heat signatures outside, closing from the east. A tight group, slow and deliberate. She hears boots on the stripped deck behind her before she reaches the exit. 2 of them move through the corridor and take up position without a word. Then a third fills the doorway. Lean and unhurried, rust brown and ash black fur under a broker's long coat, mismatched eyes catching what little light filters into the hold. Chrome augments where 2 fingers should be on each hand. Scavenger leathers underneath the coat, and enough hidden pockets to suggest he came prepared for several different kinds of conversation. Skarrik leans against the doorframe with the easy posture of someone who has already been here a while, looks her over once and smiles. Find what you were looking for? Myrkessa says nothing. Vrykul Prime, lower wreck field, holds 7. He says it the way someone recites something they wrote. You are the 11th runner in 2 cycles to follow that exact trail to this exact location. The chip, the courier's voice, the ghost IDs, all of it ours. Seeded into the right channels and left where someone skimming Syndicate assets would eventually find it. He tilts his head slightly. You have good instincts, Blackcurrent. It is a shame you bit the hand that feeds. Myrkessa runs the angles fast. Skarrik in front, 2 of his people flanking him inside the hold entrance, and more closing in from outside. She shifts her weight. 4 more outside, he says, and the Rustborn crews work for whoever pays them today. He lets that land, save the energy. She goes still, 14 months, he says. That is how far back our accounting goes. You were careful. Not careful enough. Myrkessa lunges for Skarrik and gets one step before pain floods her body, locking her muscles and suit mid-stride. She hits the deck on her knees, vision white at the edges, and feels a device click against the base of her skull before she can shake it off. She knows what it is without touching it. A C1 neutral control inhibitor used on slaves and prisoners, capable of shutting down all motor function below the neck or detonating and taking her head with it. She goes very still. Skarrik crouches down to her eye level, genuinely amused, tail twitching once. Good effort, he says. He straightens up and looks at his crew. Take her outside. Her friends are on their way. They pull her to her feet, bind her wrists, and walk her out. Marek crests the ridge with his crew, leaves 3 on the high ground, and comes down with the other 2 to where Skarrik is standing. Myrkessa is bound beside him. Marek takes it in and walks the rest of the way like he has nowhere else to be. Skarrik looks him over with a predatory gaze. Marek, it has been a while. It has. Marek looks at Myrkessa, then back at Skarrik. Skarrik still has his smile. This is just like the good old days back on the Nexus. You remember that Inari, what was his name? Mexrith, Marek says. Mexrith. Skarrik lets out a short laugh. I will never forget the look on his face, sent a real message. That was the point, Marek says with a slight smile. Skarrik glances at Myrkessa as he pulls a small display. This one has been busy. He reads from it without hurry. Dates, manifests, amounts. 14 months of careful skimming. Marek looks at her for a long moment. She drops her head. Skarrik locks his eyes with Marek's. The Syndicate pays well for those who forget their place. You know that? Marek looks at Myrkessa. What is in your accounts? She looks at him. Not enough. Deal, Marek says. Skarrik's face turns serious. And why would I do that? Nostalgia, Marek replies with a smirk. Skarrik laughs, tail flicking. He looks at Myrkessa, then back at Marek. She is short. I will cover the difference, Marek says. Skarrik raises one chrome-tipped finger. And your bonus, Marek finishes. Skarrik holds his gaze for a moment, then smiles. Pleasure doing business with you, his tail flicks once. The transfers take a few minutes. Skarrik checks the confirmations and nods. One of his crew moves to remove the C1 collar. Marek holds up a hand. Leave it. Skarrik pauses, then laughs. Same old Marek. He tosses the control across. Marek catches it and holds it up so Myrkessa can see it. The device stays until the debt is cleared, he says. 5% interest. She looks at him and nods. Skarrik and his crew walk back into the basin, and the rust haze takes them. Myrkessa retrieves her grab bike from behind the collapsed crane housing and joins up with Marek and the others. The ride back to the port is a long one. Back at the port, the Hollow Tithe lifts off and climbs through the orange smog. In her bunk, Myrkessa sits with a tablet, screen light on her face. She looks at her secret account. The balance is more than enough to clear the debt twice over. She sets the tablet down, reaches up and touches the base of her neck and stares at the ceiling. Myrkessa is back on the Hollow Tithe with a C1 control device in her neck and enough hidden credits to clear the debt twice over. Why didn't she? Subscribe for more Tenebrica stories.